If you work in marketing, and specifically if you work around email marketing campaigns, you probably know and have a similar feeling that I've had, which is just before sending the email, having that like fear and dread around either making any mistakes, sending it to the wrong people, and just getting anything wrong. And it can be this horrible feeling, especially if you're working in a larger business with a lot of contacts. It can be a dreaded time when you're just about to hit it out. So even after I've been working in digital marketing for just over 7 years, I still have that sort of dread, that anxiety building up before I hit send on an email marketing campaign or any just comms that go out to customers. So I just wanted to share a few pointers today of processes that I've learned over time that have helped reduce that fear, make it easier, hopefully reduce mistakes, and then just learn from it. So just getting into the first one is just proof and check. This is one that's probably better to do with either colleagues or anyone else in your business. It's always helpful, especially if you've been working on the content yourself and the design. You can sort of get lost in it. So having someone else go around, check over it, they'll probably pick up on things that you probably just scan past, you almost glaze over because you've been so involved in it. It sounds like a super obvious one, just to get people to check over it, but that can just alleviate a lot of stress knowing that other people in the business, especially if it's related to maybe a specialized subject that maybe you don't have the expertise in and another team has more knowledge, it can just alleviate so much of the stress just by getting people to check over it. The next one's just around sort of like the data end of things. So when you're sending out any email marketing campaign, you'll either have your data in some sort of CRM system, you'll maybe either work with a third party or else you'll manage it in-house. This is probably more aligned with if you're managing the data within your own business. Within this one, it's just about taking the time to sort of clean up and better manage that whole CRM system. So whether you're using Salesforce or any other system to sort of manage all the data, it's ensuring just everything's correct, everything's up to date, and it sort of works for the purposes of both your business and your marketing. So it's set up in a way that you're both compliant, so you're actually sending it to people who have agreed to your privacy policy and have set up for it. You also have ways of being able to filter it down just so you can create more engaging but just more relevant content, so you're actually sending it to the relevant people. So if you're doing maybe a specific campaign for a target audience, being able to filter down based on that is much easier when your CRM's in a good place, and then just ensuring all the data's up to date. So if a customer leaves you, or maybe if they've unsubscribed, just ensuring that all that information's up to date, or if maybe they changed their details or anything like that. It's just trying to stay on top. I know it's a massive task, especially if you're working in a smaller team, a smaller business. It can be a time-consuming one, and I know in the past it's been a difficult one for myself and my career to manage at times, but just putting in the effort, getting help from the rest of the business and getting that in a good place is almost essential, because there's nothing worse than sending out an email and there's maybe been a mistake in the data that you've pulled out. It goes to maybe the wrong people or not the relevant audience, or maybe you hit people that have unsubscribed potentially or no longer customers. It's just not been updated either by yourself or other members in the business. So just taking the time just to sit down and spend maybe a couple months ensuring it's up to date and get processes in place for that. And then the next one sort of like linked with it is just planning, which I think should be probably the first and most important stage of the entire thing. Because if you have the plan in place, you know exactly when emails are going out, who they're going to, who needs to sign them off, the sort of metrics from it, so what you're trying to get out of it, the purpose of it, planning that all in advance, like the subject line, the content, who it's for, will just make it so much easier when you get to the very end of it, when you've created everything. You've got it in a much smoother place and you're not rushing to get things out, and then that's ultimately where a lot of mistakes happen. There is I'll link it in this video and in the description as well, but there's a good email marketing planning template that HubSpot have shared. It's one I've used in the past and just sort of tweaked and adjusted it, but it's a lot easier once you have like that base template there, and then you can tweak and adjust it just to your own business needs. But I'll link it here. If not, you can always just Google. It's just HubSpot email marketing planning template. You just need to sign up. You get it for free. I'm pretty sure it's a Google Sheet, so you can just duplicate it over. And ultimately, if you use any other system, so if you're using Microsoft or Excel, you can just take that rough structure. Maybe if you're using Notion, you can just take it, create a basic table. But I believe just having that plan in place just alleviates so much anxiety, because you know, right, okay, over the next couple of weeks, X, Y, and Z is going out. Here's who it's going to. I can spend a bit more time thinking about the subject line. I can get everything approved beforehand, and it just keeps everyone who's involved in it more aware of what's going on. And ultimately, when you click send, it just makes it that much easier to manage. And then one of the final ones is just learning from your mistakes, because ultimately all these things can alleviate that, but even then, there's still going to be those moments where either you make mistakes or things just happen. Like, ultimately we are human at the end of the day, so it just doesn't take much to have a typo and just glance over it. Maybe a link's not working, the subject line doesn't work, maybe you've been busy with other tasks and it just sort of piles it up, maybe you've had issues with your data. Like, ultimately we are going to make mistakes, and it's okay. And not feeling before you send it out of that nervousness potentially, it's hard to explain. Hopefully you'll know what I mean when I'm speaking about it, but it's okay just to make those mistakes, but the key thing is just to learn from them. So maybe if you've sent an email out and it's potentially gone to the wrong people, then it'd be just good to sit down with your team, business, and try to work out that process and clarify it. It shouldn't just be on yourself, but if you can help learn and grow from each mistake you make, it'll just make it much easier as time goes on. So hopefully you found these few things useful, and hopefully over time it'll sort of alleviate that stress with sending out email marketing campaigns. And see you in the next video.